I heard that you're about to wake up in a whole new reality. You're about to wake up in a whole new reality. Okay, now this is also very much linked to the previous message I recorded. In all transparency, although this is coming to you, you know, the day after that I made that release, I am recording it right after that message because this messaging was coming through as I was getting ready to record that message. And I'm seeing that there is a link to it. Okay, so in my last message episode, however you want to see it, I spoke about how your voice, if this is resonating with you, your voice is encoded to destroy the false matrix and her timeline looping fuckery. But I also went deep into all of the suppression forces and technologies that had been designed to dupe you into not knowing that and to get you to move in opposition to your own truth. Everything was designed to get you to do that, right? And then there was also another message that was coming through there that spoke about how the importance of you using your voice and speaking and expressing in your source encoded truth, and how it was designed to break you out of a very specific timeline loop that you've been moving through unconsciously for many incarnations. Using an activation of your voice in your source code not only, it's designed to destroy the false matrix timeline fuckery loops, but the way that it does that is also by way of you reclaiming your true timeline creational structures. So I feel, and this isn't going to be a lot of downloads. I'm going to get into cards more because I don't have too many notes here. I do feel like there's a connection between what's coming in now and that very specific message of taking back and liberating your voice into its proper and full expression, its source code, and liberating your energy back into the position of being a source broadcasting node on the earth again. So you're about to wake up in a whole new reality, because as you rise into the truth of who you are, everything in your reality has to begin to shift to reflect that too. Not only your reality, but if you're a source broadcast node, also the timelines of the earth are shifting into proper coherence. And it's going to first begin with your own timelines. Okay? So the full moon Pisces eclipse that occurred last year and the upcoming new moon in Pisces are significant. The new moon in Pisces is occurring at 28 degrees Pisces, so a degree of Cancer, in March. I think March 16th or something, I forget now. So why is this full moon in Pisces, new moon in last full moon in Pisces, upcoming new moon in Pisces, why are they important? Well, because the full moon in Pisces eclipse that occurred last year, I think it happened around September the 6th. It occurred right between 11/11, as I say this. 11/11. This is something to do with an Aquarian gate that is being reopened. It's being reopened through this new moon in Pisces, and it's being reopened through your reclaiming your voice and reclaiming your true source encoded broadcasting node. Okay, 11/11. 32%. 32 is the inverse of 23. 23 is Aquarian. There's a flipping of a gate that's occurring. It's flipping into its age of Aquarius alignment, where it was flipped against. And there was something about the full moon in Pisces eclipse that occurred last year that began the momentum of what needed to occur in these past 6 months for you to clear certain things to get to this point of reclamation and ownership. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that full moon in Pisces. The full moon in Pisces, like I said, it occurred right between those two new moons in Virgo. So Virgo season kicked off last year with a 0-degree new moon, and then it closed out with a 29-degree new moon. That second new moon at 29 degrees was an eclipse also, right? And I've been talking about that 29-degree Virgo new moon that occurred because it's informing a lot of the energy arc that we're going through as we get to the full moon in Virgo, which occurs before this upcoming new moon in Pisces. But let's talk a little bit about the Piscean energy that was at play, because they're working together. And then, of course, we have the nodes in Pisces and Virgo. And so this is the last Pisces season that we're going to be going through while the North Node is in Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. So the full moon in Pisces eclipse that occurred last year began a deep termination and expulsion of a lot of karmic energies, timelines, patterns, beings, entities. They started to be expelled out of our reality, but very specifically by way of our emotional body. Okay, so since that full moon eclipse in Pisces, a lot of things have been being cleared and cleansed. And it's very specific because these are not things that just leave. These are things that we have to do the emotional inventory of rising into the truth of who we are and our power, and rejecting the ways that we've been patterned and programmed to betray self and to take on the martyrdom roles and positions and scripts that were the very things needed to keep us looping through karmic fuckery. Okay, so what you need to understand about Pisces and Virgo is that they both work very powerfully to keep us aligned in the truth of who we are and our signals, so we do not find ourselves stuck in karmic fuckery when we are walking in alignment with our truth, and when those energies are not being exploited or being weaponized against us. So Virgo is a sign of the zodiac that puts us back into full connection with our souls if we allow for that medicine to do that. The medicine of Virgo is to help put us back into full connection with the truth of our souls, what we're here to walk, as well as our true legacy codes. Virgo brings forth our true legacy codes, right? And Virgo brings forth the awareness of how we walk with time in terms of how it's here to serve us, and how our scheduling and our rhythms are designed to be very individual in accordance with who we are, our purposes, and what we're here to do, as opposed to moving with the collective clock structures and milestones and goalposts that we were seeded into very specifically through the exploitation of Piscean energy. Now, Pisces is the sign of the zodiac that helps us actually to be rooted in that Virgo energy, but still be a full part of the collective, but not get lost in the collective stream. So the shadow aspect of Pisces is that we get lost in that. And when we get lost in the collective stream of scripting, and we don't hold our own signal and our own personal power, then we stay in karmic fuckery and karmic loops. So the Pisces Virgo North Node transits right now, very much about returning us to that order of coming into the fullness of ourselves and our sovereignty and our true frequency, our true signal, our true, like abiding by our true rhythm, utilizing time in service to who we are, as opposed to being controlled, especially by collective time structures. And the Piscean North Node is kind of putting the collective energy back into proper alignment too, as we allow for it to, because we are here to work together, but we're not here to lose ourselves in creating collective pictures, right? That's the opposite of what Pisces energy is supposed to do, and that's what the age of Pisces produced. So what you need to know also about that last full moon in Pisces in September is that because it was a full moon, something was coming into completion. So a lot of things were ending around that time. But it doesn't just end when the full moon occurs. The full moon begins to open a story or open a door. And so it opened a door to a lot of endings. And then after the endings came the purging. Okay, because when you're moving from a full moon to a new moon through that in a sign, it's a 6-month arc. So from the full moon to the new moon, it ends like it works like a waning energy. So things begin to get pulled out and cleared from the full moon to the new moon, in the same way it does from month to month, from one full moon, from the regular monthly lunar cycle. When you enter into a full moon, the full moon is there for expulsion. The energy has grown. Then it comes to a point of maturation or to a point of clearance. Then when you move from the full moon to the new moon, it's the clearing of what it is that's been expelled. And it's also allowing, if there's something that's being birthed through the full moon, allowing it to come to life in a clearer way through the expulsion of what it is that needs to clear. So the full moon, in other words, it works to birth and it works to expel simultaneously. The new moon works to seed, and it also works to clear everything that was coming out from the expulsion energies of the full moon for the preparation of a seeding point. Okay, so that's how the moons work every single month. Every 2 weeks, you have a full moon or a new moon. And when the new moon is moving to the full moon, it's waxing. When the full moon is moving to the new moon, it's waning. So it works the same way when you're dealing with moons within their signs. So the full moon, when it occurs in a sign, the new moon will occur 6 months later. Then the new moon will occur 6 months later in that sign. So in other words, the full moon in Pisces that occurred in September put us into a waning phase, because now we were moving towards the new moon in Pisces in March. And every month that the moon moved into Pisces since then, so when the moon moved into Pisces in October, November, December, January, when it moves into Pisces this month, and then it finally moves into Pisces, into its new state in Pisces season, it is an amplification of what that moon is moving through. So whatever theme, in other words, the full moon in Pisces came to bring to expulsion, and to also whatever that full moon brought to life or came to birth, it's been growing in energy since then with every time the moon returned to Pisces. And because you're dealing with a full moon moving towards a new moon, this is a grand purging. There's a birthing, but there's also beneath that birthing, there's a grand purging, because whatever was being birthed through that full moon in Pisces cannot be properly rooted and seeded until the things that would cloud it or uproot it are cleared. Okay, I hope that I articulated that well. Okay, so there's a waxing and waning 6-month structure to the moons also, in other words. Now, with the Piscean energy, what you're also dealing with, you're dealing with a grand clearing of the emotional body, like I said, and the emotional body is very connected to your dreams. So pay attention to what your dreams have been showing you since the full moon in Pisces, because for many of you, a lot of the dreams you've been being shown are dreams for clearing timelines. They're not dreams necessarily to reveal to you what's happening behind the scenes. They're dreams to reveal to you what has been living in your fields, and that is clearing for as long as you don't kind of like recharge those energies by giving them more power in your reality than they should, right? So dreams, there's a huge clearing portal through this Pisces season of the dream realm and also of the 4D in general and of the emotional body. There's a huge clearing of the dream space very specifically to allow for it to return to you as your portal and canvas for creation. So your dreams and your entirety of your emotional body, it's there for you to, it's the interface through which you connect with your infinite reality cosmically, and you pull it into birthing things in the material, right? That's what the emotional planes, your emotional body are for. And your dreams are just one part of that. So in other words, your dreams are designed for you to be able to be consciously aware and to create through them as you connect with all manner of things cosmologically that you're able to flow through your emotional body. Okay, so it's where you get infinite access to things that exist in the cosmos through your emotional body, through your heart. And this is why it's so connected to, dreams and imagination. They are big parts of the creative and the creational process. And the way you connect with the things that we call imagination, etc., it is through your ability to touch the infinite with your mind, but also to touch it with your heart. You touch the way that you are assisted to touch the infinite with your mind comes through the planet Mercury. The way you are able to touch the infinite with your heart comes through the planet Neptune. And of course, Neptune just moved into Aries, and we have Saturn moving into Aries a week from today as I record. Okay, so those are my notes. You're about to wake up in a whole new reality. You're about to wake up in a whole new reality. Okay, let's get into cards. There's a fog that's clearing and lifting. I feel that happening also. There's a fog that's clearing and lifting. And I really do feel like I spoke about this in the last video about the third eye fuckery that I was feeling as that download was coming in. I feel like this has to do with some kind of clearing of third eye suppression technologies that were where you never quite could grasp or see who you are. You might have caught glimpses, but you weren't able to hold on to those glimpses. Something in that area of how you're able to perceive who you are is clearing. And as that clears and you're able to connect deeper with that truth of your identity, Temperance wants to come up. As you're able to do that, this is what is also rooting and anchoring you deeper into your frequency and into your signal that is bringing forth like whole new timelines and experiences that match who you are. I'm also hearing that the false feedback looping is dying. So you were experiencing a lot of false feedback looping based upon how you had been wired contractually into the false matrix and her grid and overlay system. And so it was almost like, and I spoke about this like in the last reading, through that suppression, those suppression technologies, they were designed for your signal to be smothered. So when you tried to put out your true signal, it would return to you, and it would return to you voided of your truth, which meant that you would then ingest a lie about who you were. And there's something about the shutting down of that feedback, those feedback looping technologies that now allow for you to receive in accordance with who you are. Because bear in mind also that those suppression technologies, while they were designed to dampen your frequency and to completely dim your signal and to fuck around with the feedback looping, they were also messing around with your receiving structures, meaning that you were not able to sow what you were reaping. You were not able to get back what you were giving. You would put out a lot and you would get back minimal in return. And that's because, again, those suppression technologies were designed to to have you in this loop where what you gave out would then return to you, but in a voided state. And understand and overstand, this is how your resources were also redirected. It would return to you voided, but it would also send out your code to other beings who were false matrix broadcasting nodes designed to use, not designed, they weren't designed necessarily always to use your signal, like your personal signal. They can't really do that, but they were designed to kind of use the power of your signal to amplify the messaging that the false matrix wanted to use them to put out into the world. So many of you, again, you were contracted to people who were very visible in the false matrix, and it's the suppression of your signal and your frequency and your truth that actually amplified their visibility, their magnetism, and how the world celebrated them. This is why you're also seeing right now a lot of, these celebrities, a lot of them are going down now. It's because you're coming back online also. Yeah. And their ability to be visible and to appear a certain way in the false matrix was rooted in your suppression and in the functioning of the suppression technologies that are powering down, that were powering down through the full moon in Leo and are being cleared out through these upcoming moons, leading all the way to the new moon in Aries. There's something significant about the new moon in Aries. There's also something significant about the 2007 timelines. 2007, that would have been 19 years ago. So it would have been when the nodes were, I believe, in Pisces and Virgo again. The North Node would have been in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo at that time too. So there's something very specific about the North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, and how that's played out in your duration of your time in this lifetime on the false matrix. So think about the timelines the timelines that match that for you when you've been alive, when the North Node has been in Pisces or Virgo. Also, for those of you who were born in 2007, born in, let me do the math, 1988, 88, 2007, 2026. So 2026, 2007, 1988, 1969, I think. 1950, 1931. All of those are going to be important timelines. And again, that might not be exactly right, but it's around that time. I'm thinking also about full moon, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo years. Okay. But if I named a year and it's yours or it resonates, that's your message. Ooh, well, looky here. The world. The world. The world. The world. Okay. So a few days ago when I did a reading, the world kept coming up too. I think I spoke about that. The world is a card of Saturn. It is the final card of the major arcana. It is the number 21 card in the deck, but it's actually the 22nd card of the major arcana. So the major arcana has 22 cards, and the world is the final card. The world deals with fixed sign energy and fixed sign gates. So we're dealing with Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. And of course, right now, at the time of recording, there's a lot of Aquarius energy that we find ourselves in. We have the sun in Aquarius, Mercury, Venus and Mars, and Pluto, I believe, are all still in Aquarius. It's a lot of Aquarian energy. So we're dealing with some kind of fixed gate. Like I said, with that 1111 that was coming through, there's a fixed gate that is being flipped. back into proper alignment. And what I'm beginning to feel like is like this gate only has the opportunity for this to shift every 19 years or so. It's a specific gate that's connected to the North Node Piscean energy, but it's an Aquarian gateway. It's an Aquarian gateway. And there's something about that you're linked to. And again, it could have to do with you being a broadcasting node on the planet, because that's what the Aquarian energy also ensures. The Aquarian energy, so the Leo energy is all about you being rooted in yourself and being able to put yourself out there and to broadcast your expression. And Aquarius is the sign that takes it out. Aquarius is the sign of networking, right? It's why it's also connected to the internet and technology. And there was a message that was coming through before also, 48% of my battery, 1133, the gates are reopening to certain mastery. There was a message that was coming through before, and when I was about to record, and I heard it say that something about the internet being yours, the internet being yours. And what it was kind of speaking it to was, it was like the internet has been corrupted to become this broadcasting hub through which the false matrix was able to further enforce its agenda. But that's not what the internet is actually for. The internet is for source-encoded beings to put out their broadcast. And the internet has been used against us. And I almost feel like 2007, okay, so there's something about 2007 and how this gateway to source-encoded beings being able to broadcast over what we call the World Wide Web was supposed to, there's something about the contract with the false matrix through that gate being reinstated. And it would have been reinstated very specifically because for as long as those of us who are source encoding broadcasting nodes were not yet online in our signal and our frequency, it gave them the ability to use their loopholing, contracting craziness to once again contract the World Wide Web to their false matrix broadcasting nodes and puppets. I would be very interested. I'm trying to think back to 2007 and what was going on for me. I remember very well some of the things that occurred in 2007. I definitely was not a person who was using my voice in the world in that way. 2007, I'd be interested to remember when YouTube began. Because I remember the first time I started to really watch it was in 2010. But obviously it existed before then. So there was something, okay, there's something about the internet contracts, the way the internet was contracted to the false matrix that was updated in 2007, that now as we move into this eclipse window and 19 years on into ascension and the nodes are back at the same place, Pisces and Virgo, there's something about the taking back of that contract. And what's interesting is that I believe the new moon in Aries that year was at the 27th degree of Aries 2. And the new moon in Aries that's coming up is at the 27th degree, which I was led to look at in the last reading I did, because it is a degree of Gemini. I at first thought it was I was being pointed towards the new moon in Pisces, but the new moon in Pisces is still occurring at the 28 degrees, which means that there's something about this Piscean energy that's being established in the very grid structures of the earth, because 28 is a degree of Cancer. It connects us to the true foundations and grid systems of the earth and the dragon lines, and how the frequency of the earth is channeled, contained, etc. Balance. It operates through the Cancer Capricorn axis, but very specifically the grids themselves through Cancer. Capricorn connects us more to the vaulted structures of the earth and what goes into circulation from those vaults. But those vaults are they're built upon grids. And I don't want to get too deep into that conversation right now, because it's like it's complex, but it's not part. The vaults aren't to do with the messaging directly today. Right now, this is to do with something coming back into circulation on the planet through the new moon in Aries. Because bear in mind also, Aries is a sign of circulation, as is Aquarius in a different way. But Aries sets the tone for how things are able to be circulated, and Aquarius then circulates. There are different signs that circulate in different ways, but I would say the two main signs for like circuitry and circulation are Aries and Aquarius. But Aries sets the circuit board, and Aquarius is how that circuitry then moves. So with this new moon in Aquarius occurring, and this is the World card, that's Aquarian energy also, it's an Aquarian gate. A lot of the energies that come through, oh my God, the world is also connected to the internet. I wasn't thinking about that also. It's a card of the internet. It speaks of the internet too. A lot of the ways that certain things become established on the earth come through the fixed signs, comes through the fixed cross. The way cycles become established, the way they die, the way they shift. It comes through activation of gates that occur through the fixed signs, through Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio. So when you're dealing with Aquarius and Leo, this is to do with how we are established and recognized on the earth, right, as individuals, and how that goes out into the collective grids, and how you're picked up or not picked up because of that. When you're dealing with Taurus and Scorpio, you're dealing very specifically with the value systems of the earth, and also how your value is established, your endowment, the truth of what it is you hold because of who you are and what you're here to do, and then how that is supposed to go out into the world and be distributed and returned to you through Scorpio. So there's something about the resetting of distribution but it's connected to those of you who are like these broadcasting nodes that are coming back online. There's something about the proper alignment of distribution, the proper visibility and broadcasting codes returning, whereby the false matrix system was designed to dampen and suppress your signal and to almost render you invisible. But in your source-encoded truth, the reality is that you are actually supposed to be heard. You're supposed to be seen. You're supposed to be felt. The false matrix also suppressed you in your value by programming you into various lack scripts that were designed to keep you in not only thinking of yourself as being impoverished in some way, but also ensuring that what was yours never came to you also. It got redirected. And their entire false financial and banking structures were rooted off of your suppression. And it feels like there's something shifting through this eclipse corridor. And very specifically, like the new moon in Aries is resetting the containers, resetting the actual circuit boards, and like the containers through which the circuitry is rooted, is established. Oof. Yeah. Another thing you should know about Aquarian energy, which is really interesting, is that www dot World Wide Web. W, when you in gematria, is the 23rd letter of the alphabet, and 23 is an Aquarian degree also. So literally www is Aquarius, 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 23, 23, 23. And when you break down 23 in www, so 23 plus 23 plus 23 is 69, which is Cancer. It speaks to you about the connection of the World Wide Web with the grid system. Oof, this is so cool. There's something about the World Wide Web and the grid system that's coming back online with its new Earth contracts, and it's because the true source encoded broadcasting nodes, those of you who are here to broadcast source code and haven't been able to do it, with the clearing out of these suppression grids, that's possible again. Oh, this is so cool. Okay. Overarching theme, Queen of Cups. This is about receiving through the emotional field, receiving through the emotional body. There's something about this last full moon in Pisces eclipse that began to clear out the distortion in your feedback loop. The distortion in your feedback loop where you would put something out and it would return to you voided, or you'd get peanuts for what you were putting out. You were programmed that way systemically through the technologies of the suppression, the suppression technologies within the false matrix. And when the full moon in Pisces occurred, there's something about how you began to go through big lessons, updates, activations, shadow work, take it as it resonates, very specifically about what you give out and what you receive. And I'm even drawn here, 11:44 on my clock, to the Queen of Cups. I was talking about this the other day, and a beautiful soul then shared their insight on something that I had said. And I had pretty much said that, I was learning how to pour out from my overflow, from feeling replenished before I feel indebted or feel like I have to show up in scenarios out of duty, including on here. And this person was saying how they have many cups, and it's important to keep all of those cups in overflow. And I was just like, yeah, I fully agree. I do believe we have many cups. We're infinite beings. This is almost like the return of your many cups of flow. There's something about the Eight of Cups. What is it about the Eight of Cups? Ooh, the full moon. The full moon in Pisces last year, the eclipse, it would have been Eight of Cups energy, I believe. I believe it would have been, or would it have been Nine of Cups? Either way, it is about walking away from that which doesn't refill your cup and constantly takes from your cup, and learning how to manage your own cups so that you are in scenarios where your cups are in overflow, where your energy is circulating and going and coming back to you, magnified in the right way, so that you are replenished. And the suppression fields, the suppression technologies of the false matrix that you were wired into, those were designed to not do that, and to therefore push you into constant cycles and loops of self-sacrifice to get back a little of what it was that you are and that you were putting out. There's an end that's coming where you couldn't receive before, in other words, and you couldn't receive not only because of trauma or your own, psychological story, yes, that would have been a part of it, but the very technologies that were designed to reroute what was yours, the very suppression grids that were designed to distort your signals so what you put out returned voided, the very suppression technologies that were designed to have you constantly sowing but not properly reaping in accordance with what you were sowing. There's something that's closing out there. Ooh, this is big. Okay. I didn't think this message was going to go here, but cool. Challenge, Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands in the challenge position. This is Sagittarius energy. This might happen very quickly. This might happen very quickly. The Eight of Wands. It might just happen very quickly. Now, why would that be a challenge? So when you're dealing with the Eight of Wands, let's read it from the polarity, because it could be either or. This thing could feel like it's not coming in fast enough. That can be the Eight of Wands in the challenge position. Or it can feel like everything is coming in at once, and that can feel overwhelming too. Eight of Wands is the 0 to 9 degrees of Sagittarius. Zero to 9 degrees of Sagittarius. That would have been the end of November. The end of November. There's something about the timelines at the end of November. Let's say from November 21st to December 1st. Something about those timelines specifically too. Something about a delay around that time also. But the delay that was coming in was actually for redirection. Not redirection, but it was for, let's put it this way, it's for re-circuitry, to bring back the true circuitry. This is also about preparing yourself to hold this energy. I've been talking about this a lot. This year, 2026, it really is about us taking full reclamation of our nervous systems. Your nervous system is very connected to Cancer energy, right? So in order to hold the fullness of who you are, and to begin to birth timelines that are in agreement with who you are, your nervous system must be calibrated for that too. Your nervous system must be calibrated to not only receive, but to hold. This is also, when you're dealing with Sagittarius, you're talking about how you're walking in the truth of your signal. There may still be some work you're being called into to amplify your signal within yourself and the decisions that you're making internally. Where that's coming from. Is it coming from the decisions that you're making? Are you constantly reverting to your own blueprint? Or are you still allowing kind of external energies to be the measure of what's going on? There's something about the refining of your signal and your frequency to come from you and to not fall into distortion by using external things, external information as measurement for what's happening. The external information we pick up is supposed to be giving us information for what it is that is going on internally. It is a feedback loop in and of itself. And a lot of what we've been seeing externally it hasn't been matching up with our internal truth because we've been dealing with these suppression technologies. And like I said, you putting out your signal and it returning to you void in some way. Okay, what you need to be paying attention to: Six of Cups, Six of Cups, Six of Cups. So Six of Cups is Scorpio energy. So we've got more cups energy, right? We've got all cups here except in the challenge position, the Eight of Wands. Before I get into the Six of Cups, another message coming through from the Eight of Wands is about protecting yourself from a lot of incoming messaging that would want to distort the truth of who you are. So that would again be like the static that is very amplified right now as those suppression technologies power down and leave. It produces a lot of static in the system where you were connected. And then a lot of the original messaging that was designed to keep you scripted in suppression timelines and experiences become amplified. And it's almost like the amplification of that messaging makes you feel like you're regressing, when really what it is the static is increasing because it's powering down. But then you can then run away now with the story and create a whole new loop based upon that same story. That would be you enforcing that energy at this point, not the technology. I think this is the second time this message has come through. I think it came through when I was doing the downloads also. So be aware of that. With the Six of Cups, with what you need to be paying attention to, this would be a lot of the childhood, the original like childhood scripting and messaging that had you dimmed, that had you dampened, that had you becoming comfortable with scripts and stories around who you are and your limitations, that were designed by the false matrix, family, ancestral grids, and their overall suppression technologies to keep you to keep your frequency and your signal silence, and to keep you from connecting with the truth of who you are, and to keep you from receiving in accordance with your truth. The Six of Cups, in terms of what you need to be paying attention to also, is that a lot of the way that you amplify your signal and you anchor into it, yes, it's by speaking your truth, but it's by expressing it also. But it's also by choosing what it is that brings you joy. What you need to understand about your true source code and how it connects you to your soul is that your joy is coded to your soul's truth, which means that your joy, and I'm not talking about fleeting happiness, but I'm talking about what brings you a sense of like fulfillment and accomplishment and what you love to do and what amplifies that feeling, that's encoded into your soul. And so the more that you pursue that, the more that you do that, the more you're clearing your signal and your frequency, the more you're clearing yourself to be a proper broadcasting node for source code again on the planet, because you're first doing it for your source, your personal source code to return. There's also been a lot of joy. There's also been, these suppression technologies have also been designed to distort. 65% battery, 1156. This again is flipping of something, flipping of a gate. Aquarian energy, 111111. Break it down, it's 33 master codes. These are the master codes that are coming that are flipping these things around. But what I wanted to say about these suppression technologies, they were also designed to suppress your joy and to not allow you to sustain your joy. So things that are supposed to naturally in your source code produce and amplify your joy, you you might have been able to access it, but then all of the layers of the suppression technologies, including the, you know, where you would be dealing with retaliation and punishment, those things would step into place. So for example, like you start to pursue something that you really love to do, and then all of a sudden all the Debbie Downers just start to show up in your field, whether personally or, for example, if you are a person like me who, you know, I love to talk about this stuff. You know, I love to share this stuff. This is part of my purpose. This is part of what gives me joy also. And putting out things like this where other people then try to suppress your joy, whether through not even just comments, but through their frequency, through their energy, etc., that would have increased around you through the suppression technology. So every time you moved in your joy, something would come in to dampen it and to pull you down. And then to even have you believe or think that the very thing that you are wired and coded to enjoy because of your source code was a drag. So there's something about reconnecting to the purity of your joy and pushing past the suppressions that want you to believe, where the suppression technologies wanted you out of alignment with your joy codes. It's time to come back into alignment. And a lot of the time, the way you come back into alignment with your joy codes is through remembering what you love to do as a child. What you love to do as a child, because that's where the suppression began. What did you love to do as a child that you were constantly being pushed away from, or you were made to feel like it was childish, or it's not a way to be, or blah, blah, blah. In other words, funny. In other words, the way out of suppression is through Leo. This is why the full moon, funnily enough, this is why the full moon in Leo was powering down these suppression grids. Because the way out of suppression is expression. So the Leo energy is how you connect to the innocence of your pure expression that comes through very easily when you're a child, a lot of the time, before the false matrix purposely begins to dampen it. That's your Leo energy. Interesting. So a lot of these suppression fields and the effects they've had on you and your ability to express your truth, there's going to be a lot of continual clearing of that right up to the new moon in Leo. So remember, I was telling you how the moons work on an arc. So because we had a full moon in Leo, as we move to the new moon in Leo, we're in a waning lunar energy. So what has been pushed out to be cleared will be clearing. The clearance energy of that will be growing through every time the moon re-enters Leo until we have the new moon in Leo, I think in August. So every time the moon enters in Leo until August, it's going to be increasing the clarifying power of what needs to leave in terms of how we've suppressed our expression. So that's what's going to be the work that we're invited to do of self-mastery based upon what the collective energy is also introducing, is to make our expression clearer and more in alignment with our true frequency and source code by the continual clearing of everything that suppressed and dampened that. Guidance, 8 of Swords. I would not have wanted this in any other place, but the guidance or the challenge. We do have 8-8 energy, so 8-8 portal again 8-8 energy. This is Leo. This connects us to the strength card. This is telling us something about the upcoming 8-8 portal. And what I feel like it's showing us is that the upcoming 8-8 portal, for some of you, this is going to be the first time since the age of Leo where you are going to be able to actually connect with your solar codes from a place of solar coded alignment. And that's because the suppression grids and the suppression technologies that were designed to power you down and to keep you from being able to receive, so that when you put your signal out, it would return void. That's no longer going to be the case. So there's something here about the 8-8 portal. There's also something here about the codes that are coming in, the master codes that are coming, and how they're breaking you out of the mental cages, very specifically, that aligned with these suppression technologies. Remember, I said in the last reading, a lot of this was Gemini fuckery. The 8 of Swords is Gemini. It's the first decan of Gemini. You're dealing with the first decan of Gemini and the first decan of Sagittarius. 0 to 9 degrees Gemini and 0 to 9 degrees Sagittarius. Sagittarius and Gemini are sister signs. Okay, so Gemini is about how you connect to your infinite mind. And Sagittarius is how you begin to take that out on the earth with how you walk, how you think, and how you begin to curate your life based upon what you're able to access in your mind. And so again, Gemini is to do with mind, it's to do with technology, it's to do with the airwaves. There's something very specific here that it has to do very much with the reprogramming of the mental planes. There's a reprogramming. It feels like these codes of mastery are going to really be working very specifically on the mental planes, the messaging. And this is why we even have this world card and the World Wide Web and the shift in the internet and contracts. And as I lifted up, we have the death card. There's a death to certain contracts that were designed to make you invisible, to get you to reject your own coding, to not allow you to receive what is yours, to suppress your expression and your ability to see. That's what was happening. There's a lot of that, it's coming apart. It's coming apart, and greater clarity is going to be coming through with every time the moon enters into Leo, but also the new structures that support your visibility and your ability to hold your true frequency and to connect with your source code and to broadcast in truth and to have the proper circuitry of all of these things. It's being instated through this new moon in Aries. And I'm seeing right now how the new moon in Aquarius that's occurring, this is also the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. This is also the year of the fire horse. This is going to occur rapidly. It's going to occur rapidly. So it's going to occur rapidly. So you're about to wake up in a whole new reality, and it feels like it's because of all of this stuff that's at work. So to get more personal messages, you might want to look at your Saturn placement. You might want to look at where the fixed signs are in your chart, very specifically Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, as well as the 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th houses. Where 0 to 9 degrees Sagittarius is in your chart, where 0 to 9 degrees Gemini is in your chart. And for the 6 of Cups, that's where 10 to 19 degrees of Scorpio is in your chart. And also I would, an honorable mention, I would also look for any Piscean energy, what rules your 12th house, and what house Pisces rules in your chart. Okay. You can also look at what house Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Gemini rule in your chart too. Some of you have a lot of Scorpio, Taurus axis interplay, whether it's your MC is Gemini and your IC is Sagittarius, or your ascendant is Gemini and your descendant is Sagittarius, or, you know, flip it around, or your north node is Gemini, your south node is Sagittarius. There's an energy interplay here with the sister axis of Sagittarius and Gemini, and for some of you very specifically it's 0 to 9 degrees. Okay. Let's get some guidance and close this out. Ooh, that's a lot. Don't need 2 decks, I just need 1. If you would like to sign up for a personal reading for guidance through this eclipse, the information for that will be in the description box below, as well as in the pinned comment section. If you would like to book a soul recovery session with me, the information will be there too. If you'd like to have a bespoke decree written on your behalf by me, the information for that will be there too. And if you just generally want access to my decrees, you can do so through my Ko-Fi shop. Okay, Clover, release your guilt. Number 21, which, what did I say to you guys before? What number card is the world? 21, XXI, 21, 21. Again, 3, mastery, okay? Release your guilt. I feel like this has to do also with ways you might feel like you've let yourself down, or ways you feel like you failed. A lot of those stories are coming up right now and have been coming up through the recent energies to discourage you from, again, connecting with your power and owning it, almost like you've missed the boat, right? You've done something wrong. If you're already like thinking that probably isn't your own, that isn't your soul. Your soul wouldn't give you that kind of information. Let me tell you, most people who've missed the boat are not worrying that they've missed the boat. Most people that have missed the boat are still going around business as usual, stuck in scripts that they actually believe that are actually shielding them from the truth of where they're going. Most people are not worried in that way. When you start to, it's like what they say when, you know, they talk about people who are highly narcissistic, because we're all narcissistic. Narcissism is just to what degree? Okay, but when you're dealing with people who are highly narcissistic, they will never be the ones who question, am I narcissistic, or in what areas do I need to deal with my own narcissism? That's not what a person who has high degrees of narcissism to the point where they would be diagnosed with a narcissistic personality. It's not where they're going to go in their own consciousness. So it's kind of the same thing. If you are feeling like you've done something wrong, or like you've missed the boat in some way, that in and of itself is showing you there's room for correction. Because your own soul doesn't show you that you might, if it is true, that you might have gone off track and then just leave you there. The people who have gone off track, who are supposed to continue going off track, are the ones who aren't thinking that they're off track or worrying that, you know, that's not the case. If you're feeling that way because you genuinely have veered off path in some way, then it's coming up for correction. It's coming up because it's within your power to correct. So that's one way this message is coming through with the release your guilt. With the 21 and the release your guilt, I also just feel like a lot of the guilt programming is wanting to come to a close, but it has to through you. You're not here to feel guilty about the fact that you have something that someone else doesn't. You're not here to feel guilty about the fact that maybe your higher timelines are going to come in before someone else's. Maybe you're setting the fucking tone for them to have it too. And maybe in feeling guilty and pushing yourself into delay, you're actually delaying them also. You're not supposed to feel guilty about how powerful you are, how beautiful you are. You're not supposed to feel guilty about existing. You're not supposed to feel guilty about being who the fuck you are and receiving what it is you're supposed to receive in accordance with that. 12:12 on my clock. You're not here to feel guilty. All of that guilt is all fucking religious programming, again, to suppress you and keep you small. To feel guilty about shining, to feel guilty about speaking your truth, to feel guilty. And then what it does is it pushes you into behaving in ways that are in opposition to the truth of who you are, which then produces more fucking guilt. Because now you have a whole new guilt script about how you should have known better and risen into your power and all of that. Fuck that. Fuck the guilt scripts. Fuck them all. Burn them down like they're doing in this fucking picture. Burn the fucking guilt scripts down. They're scripts that are designed to make you feel as if you have a moral compass, but they're religious templates. Guilt is real, okay? It's supposed to come up to show you when you've done something wrong and you need to correct it. But the guilt I'm talking about here is the guilt that comes up that makes you feel paralyzed to not be able to do anything. Like you've missed something, like you can't change something, like you can't rise out of something, like you're supposed to be fucking perfect, and because you did something wrong, there's no chance of redemption. That's all fucking religious programming. It pisses me off. It pisses me off because what it does is it stalls people in timeline loops where it makes them feel as if they can't move forward. It's a religious template. Let it go. Some of you, some of us, were literally programmed to feel guilty for existing. That would have been through specifically your family of origin. You were programmed to feel guilty for merely existing. Get rid of that. Not only should you not feel guilty for existing, you exist because you're needed. You're needed. What came out? Morning, the world awaits you. Morning, the world awaits you. So a few things coming through. The number 40 card here. There's something new being established in your morning energy where I feel like you have the opportunity to awaken in joy. And this will also have to do with how your dream traveling is shifting back into alignment. Many of you, through these suppression technologies, you were designed to, those suppression technologies were enforced through your dream field. They were enforced through your dream field, and they were designed to suppress your signal, but also to, like I said, suppress your joy. Very specifically. Okay, so, you know, from experience, I can say to you that from the time I was a kid, I'd always wake up with this like foreboding sense. I could never wake up like enthusiastic about the day. And I started to really notice in adulthood, like I would go to sleep in one state and I would wake up in completely the opposite. And so it began to show me I was being programmed through the dream field. And for those of you who've dealt with suppression technologies that are designed to pull you out of your joy, because your joy is also what anchors source code into the earth, then you would have found yourself dealing with this energy in the mornings where you might have felt it the most because of how those suppression scripts and technologies were being reinforced through your dream field. So the message was, You're about to, oh, that's what it is. You're about to wake up in a whole new reality. Look, morning. You're about to wake up in a whole new reality. This is also showing the switch from one to, from a timeline experience into something completely different. So this is about your mornings, yes, but it's also about like a morning, like figuratively speaking, in terms of like a rising, a dawning within your timelines and within your experiences. There's something new getting ready to dawn. You're going to be waking up in a whole new reality. The world awaits you. The world awaits you. What do we have at the bottom? The world card. We were talking about before how the false matrix was designed to suppress you and make you invisible. This world that you're waking up into is not designed like that. It's designed for you to be seen, to be heard, to be held. The world itself, yes, because your own frequency is coming back online, but also the world that you're creating through being around other people also. This is like where you start calling in people that are in alignment with the amplification of your true signal as opposed to the dimming of it. I love it. Okay. Oh, I'm going to give you another one because it's peeking out. 44. Every hurricane comes to an end. 4-4 energy. That's the reestablishment of something new, a new dawn. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful energy. It's been a pleasure to give you this reading and to share with you some of these downloads. I hope it's been helpful, insightful, clarifying. I hope that it's blown all cobwebs and static and confusion that's been trying to block you from, accessing your own signal. I hope that it's blown that away too. Yes, if you would like to give to the channel, or you'd like to give a tip in gratitude, or you would like to treat me to a coffee, you can do so through my Ko-Fi. It's ko-fi.com/Solarah Rises. I will put that information in the description box in the comment section below. I thank you for all the ways that you support me. I thank you to those of you who have been true contributors to my own rise and reclamation. I really do appreciate you guys. And I will see you when I see you again. Until then, be well.